commercial broadcaster TF1 launched in 1975, French viewers had access to 3 channels. TF1 was broadcasting 60 programs every week, and they enjoyed a 50% market share. Fast forward to today, TF1 is going to turn 50 next year, and boy, the world has changed since then. Not only do we have access to hundreds of free and pay TV channels, but companies like Netflix, YouTube, and TikTok are now part of our daily viewing habits. All of these companies are actual competitors to companies like TF1 because everyone is fighting for our daily attention. By the way, I'm Marion, and in this video, I'm going to show you how a modern day broadcaster like TF1 is working to transform itself to stay relevant in the media landscape. Let me bust a myth, the myth of the company who hasn't been able to evolve. Yes, TF1 is a TV broadcaster at its core. It is a network of 9 channels, but it is also a network of digital platforms, TF1+, TF1 Max. We'll talk a bit more about all of those later on. It's also a content producer, a content distributor, and most importantly, because it is a company that relies on ad revenues for monetization, it is a very powerful advertising sales house. The list goes on. In April 2024, TF1 was the most watched free-to-air TV channel in France with 18.7% of viewership market share. If you bring together the rest of the channels that they own, you grow to 27.3%. On the revenue side, TF1 generated 334 million euros of revenue from their linear advertising business. It's an increase of 4.4%. Then on the digital side, it grew by 43% to 29 million. Overall, TF1 in Q1 of 2024 generated 363 million euros. Ideal picture? Not exactly. Let's look at the number in more details. TF1 Plus grew by an astonishing 33.5% of ad revenues this quarter. This is great, no doubt about that. Having said that, TF1 Plus only represents 8% of the total advertising revenue of TF1. So if TF1 Plus is supposed to fill in or compensate for the structural decline of linear TV viewership and therefore linear TV advertising revenues, then it's going to need to grow that much faster, that much bigger. In 2012, French audiences spent 3 hours and 50 minutes watching television daily. This number in 2024 is actually 3 hours and 19 minutes. Over a decade, more than a decade, linear TV viewership as a whole on the French market decreased by half an hour. This means that people are spending less time watching TV, which is a problem for a company like TF1. So what did they do to actually make sure that people would be watching more content? This is where TF1 comes in. TF1 understood early on the need to address audiences who didn't want to tune in, or not as much as before, to watch a linear broadcast. So throughout the years, they've launched different services. In 2011, they launched MyTF1 or MyTF1. It's actually a service where you could just catch up on programs which were available on linear broadcasts. 10 years later, 2021, they launched TF1 Max. The idea here was if you didn't want to have advertising served as part of your viewing experience, you could just sign up for something like 6 euros every month. And come 2024, TF1 launched TF1 Plus. By the way, if you're interested to know more about TF1 or companies within the European landscape, I have a newsletter coming out every Friday called Streaming Made Easy. You can follow the link below and subscribe. Now back to the video. What is TF1 Plus? It's a brand new streaming service launched by TF1 in January 2024. Exit the words catch up, replay, AVOD, which is ad-supported video on demand. Enter new words like streaming, monthly active users, streaming hours. Those words matter. It shows that TF1 is really entering into its streaming era to compete against companies that we mentioned before, TikTok, YouTube, Netflix, anyone who's fighting for your daily attention. In TF1 Plus, you have an amazing amount of programs, over 15,000 programs available on demand. You have live channels, the same that you would find on your television, except that you can find those on your web, on your mobile, etc. You can also access fast channel, free ad-supported streaming channels. Those are channels that TF1 does not broadcast on the traditional TV. They're only available in the digital space. If you're a big fan or Baywatch, for example, or Naruto, you can spend an entire day watching a channel dedicated to that show. Where is TF1 Plus available? I'm a distribution expert, so this is the part that I love the most. So TF1 Plus is a website, it's an app, iOS, Android. It's an app on your set-top box with operators like Orange, SFR, Free, Bouygues being launch partners. But most importantly, it's an app on Samsung, LG, iSense, essentially the entire connected TV ecosystem. And this portion matters because a few years back, most of the consumption was happening on set-top boxes. And so companies like TF1 were, on some of those connected TV platforms, but not all. Here, on this launch, from day one, they went for a very ubiquitous distribution availability. The idea being that essentially they're everywhere where you can be. Regardless of the device, your operator, you can find TF1 Plus everywhere. As mentioned, they launched in January. It's been a few months. What are the results? Well, they're super encouraging. Essentially, ever since they've launched, they've had on average 33 million active users on TF1 Plus, with a peak in March 2024 where they actually had 35 million of users coming to the platform. Today, TF1 has 4 or 5% of market share of this 2 billion digital video business in France. The ambition is clear. They want to double that within the next 3 years. Now, of course, the question remains, will this growth on the digital video side will sufficient to have the company keep growing overall? We'll have to see. There are two things that I would do if I were them to continue growing TF1 Plus. One would be to diversify the portfolio and bring more content and content that you don't find on TF1 Plus. And especially passion-driven or community-driven, right? To ensure that you have fans from, it could be the anime, the sport, the music communities, drive viewership to TF1 Plus. Number two, I would welcome brands that are relevant to younger audiences. This is a demo that is not fleeing, but alluding to traditional broadcasters. And it is also a demo that advertisers love and they want to reach those younger audiences. Now, if you've liked this video, you can watch another one here or subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in my next video.